On it. Oh, wait a minute. Something's happening. La, da, 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 da. I don't know what it's doing. Come around here, babe.
Where's your phone?
My phone's right here.
Because you were talking to other people, right?
I know I'm talking to other people, but I'm trying to do the thing right. It says, and now it says I'm live. It says in live states. And it says also commented on her post a few seconds ago. Are you there, B? This means it's live, right?
Yeah.
Because mine says end live session. Okay, so tell me, the people that are on here, can you see me on the screen now? Help me, village, help. So I got away from Vicky, Mohammed, I have Jennifer, I have, so you guys can see me? They're waving at me. Somebody is.
We're cutting off B.
So I'm gonna take you off.
No. Stay there. Stay there.
All right. So I gotta go in. We're working. We're still working.
Just on your phone, and you're talking to all the people who you were talking to before.
Okay.
Put it on your phone.
All right. But shouldn't I be on here? So can you all see me on the big screen? Let me see. Comment as Joy DeGruy. This says I'm live. If you end this video, you'll be able to choose if you want to save or delete it. Now we're going to cancel that. I'm not ending. Okay, so I don't know. Am I live? I don't know. I'm assuming that I am, but I don't know which one I'm on. I'm live on.
So just talk to both.
My husband's idea is to talk to both.
Let go.
Okay. Where was I?
It's got a thing on the bottom of it. See that?
I could put my buds in. That might be easier. I don't know what's happening with that. Okay, he tried to help. I don't think it worked. I'm not sure. See, Joanne's over here. I think the live people, live and as beautiful as ever. Thank you. Okay, so I'm assuming that I'm live now. Okay. So what I was talking about is the fact that I believe that very often, my father used to say to me, if a white man has a cold, a black man has pneumonia. And we've learned to normalize kind of just carrying a lot. We carry a lot. We carry a lot of stress, and we just think it's a normal thing. When I was in graduate school, I remember being told that, well, this is a rigorous program, and you won't be able to work. You won't be able to work and go to school. There's no way you could manage that. And I said, oh, of course. And of course I worked full time because I didn't have the option to not work, while the majority of the people in my cohort didn't. Matter of fact, they were going to therapy because they were in a graduate program. They literally had to go to therapy every week because of the stress of school. And I'm thinking, I'm going to school full time. I'm working full time. I'm raising a family. I'm engaged in my community. Yeah, that's not something that I was going to have the option to do. So I think, I'm not suggesting that that's something you should do. If I didn't have to work, oh, how wonderful that would be. But I didn't have, a trust fund or anything. So that's how it went. And I think that in these times when this is a method of communication, this is our mode. It's unfamiliar. I'm not a tech person. I'm not, I use it. Matter of fact, I'm starting a blog. Yes, I'm going to start a blog. It's been one of those where I want to do a podcast, and I have a bunch of people that are coming together to help me do that. Because I want to be able to reach people and touch people, especially at a time where I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but things are kind of heating up in the country. Okay. And that being the case, I think we have to start doing things a little different. But at the same time, to do things that we already know. This is not something where I think, we are somehow lost. We've dealt with much, far worse things. But at the same time, I think relationships are being challenged. I think, and my biggest concern are for folks who do really, in fact, live one paycheck to the next. I grew up at a time, just to kind of show you how old I am, where when I was young, we would float checks. Let me explain what that means. That means that I'm going, okay, I got to pay this bill. I got a shut off notice. I'm going to have my friend write a check to my friend, uh, borrow money from them so that I can cover the check when it hits the bank, because usually it would take, maybe two days, 2 to 3 days. But nobody writes checks anymore, first of all. And if they do write a check, it's instant. They take it out of your account immediately. So everybody who had a side hustle, braiding hair or cutting hair or doing the different things, we're seeing a real difference in our ability to move through the world. And we have to become a little bit more creative. There are people who are doing things online, and they're getting the assistance of their village to support them, to help them in that process. And so I'm encouraging, one, parents to talk to your kids, talk to them, have conversations. I was talking to a group of folks that I've been doing work with in Rochester. Um, and I know some of them are on, and just incredible people, been doing the hard work, nameless people, don't, they just been doing this work of community and supporting people and bringing people together and healing. And we were talking, and I said, I have folks that I talk to. Like, I'll go to a store, or I'll go, get my hair did. And I'll hear people talking, and they'll say stuff like, yeah, girl, I went to the grocery store the other day. I picked up, some food, and we going to do this thing this weekend. And yeah, then I'm going to get my hair done and get my nails done. And that's about it. That's really kind of their world. They kind of roll in and rotate in that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think we have to expand our way of thinking, and the way we do that is we engage with people who are different. We engage with people who have another context that they're functioning from, that have another lane of knowledge, right? So I know that for me, I'm me all the time. First of all, it doesn't matter whether I'm standing in front of a group of people, or I'm lecturing at a university, or I'm talking to my grandkids. You're going to get the real kind of authentic joy. This is who I am. And at the same time, I realize that people don't necessarily have access, or they don't usually move in circles where they hear people talking about things from a very different perspective, or from a very different world, or a very different range of knowledge and experience, right? So if it's not uncommon that I'll just be sitting down with my friends, or with my daughter, or my husband. We're just, maybe at a cafe, and we're talking, and we're talking seriously about serious things. We're talking about what's happening to African American people in this country, what is happening as a result of gentrification, or what I refer to in my work as serial forced displacement, based on an article and research that was done by some Black, scholars, and realizing that there's something that happens to us in our communities when we get disconnected, when we get uprooted and displaced. So again, this is just another layer on top of all of those other things. And I want to encourage people to love bigger, to embrace, to take some risks in terms of reaching out to folks and touching them, and hearing their stories, or telling yours. That's one of the things that I think is really important for families, is to tell your stories. I mean, we're all in the same house. Maybe we could do something like at least uh, one time during the day, we're going to tell a story about what was life like for our grandparents or our parents, or tell stories about things, lessons you've learned, or even mistakes you've made. To just start having those conversations. And I think people appreciate that. I've had people, I guess you call them ear hustlers. They'll come over and they'll go, listen, I don't mean to really be, nosy or anything, but I really appreciated when you were talking about such and such. I've always felt that way. And it was just so nice to hear. And it was things like that that made me know that people are hungry and they're thirsty to learn new things, and to connect, and to find tools for managing in a very, very difficult time. So as we are in this process of sheltering in place, I want us to look at our stress, and I want us to pay attention to the things that de-stress us. And we also have to appreciate that folks are in this situation that are managing addictions, that are managing health issues, right? And this is all the more reason why we have to lean in. We need to lean in, and sometimes, I'll give you a perfect example. I was working with some families, and one of the things that I use, and some of the folks that have taken my class, they know that I have employed all kind of tools. One of them are virtues cards, and I use virtues cards. And the virtues cards, actually, I can show them to you on our next live session. But I don't even know where we are in time with this, so I just want to get a few things in. So we were in this session where we had a father and his son. He was a single dad raising his son. His son was adjudicated, had been in some gang stuff, had done some, kind of petty theft stuff, but he landed him in this program that I work with. And so when we brought them together to do these virtues, and basically they're cards that say, patience, and then it describes what patience is and how to incorporate patience in your life and what that looks like in terms of practical application. And each person pulls a card, they read their card, their virtue, and then they kind of speak to how that virtue is touching them in the moment. So when the kid comes in the room, I don't know, he's 16 or 17, he has his sagging, he's got, his hat on, he's got headphones on, and he's just, everything in his body language is telling me, the one who's actually doing this session, that I don't want to hear, and I don't want to talk, and I don't want to engage. At least that's the message I think I'm receiving. So I tap him on the shoulder. I'm going, you know what? This isn't going to take a long time, but I'm going to need you to take the headphones off and to talk to me and to be able to engage. And so he took the headphones off. He took his hat off, and he sat down. Meanwhile, his dad on the other side of the room, he's just disgusted. He's through with this kid. He's just been in trouble. And from his vantage point, kid's a headache. So each one of us pick a card, pick our virtue, and we talk about it. And it gets to this kid. And he reads his card, and the virtue he picks, and again, it's a blind pick, you just pick it out of a deck, was courage. That was the card he picked. I'll never forget it because what he said was so impactful. Now, meanwhile, like I said, his dad, not a single word between them. He's on the other side of the room. He don't even want to look at the kid. And he says, I want to have courage. And this card speaks to me because I have to have courage that when I go to this new school, because he had gotten kicked out of so many schools. Finally, this is the last possibility. It's an alternative school. And he says, I have to have the courage that they will judge me based on the new me and not the me I used to be. I have to have the courage that they won't judge me based on who I was, but I have to have the courage to believe that they will accept this new me that wants to go to school, that doesn't want to mess up. I have to have courage that I can, make myself over. And I remember the whole room was just stunned. They were stunned. This father walked across the room and embraced his son, hugged him, and cried. It was as if he'd never heard him before. It was as if this was a whole new person. And what this young man was doing when he put on the headphones and all of that, he was afraid. He was afraid of being judged because he'd done a lot of wrong things. But he says, I'm not that person anymore. I don't want to be that person anymore. But that moment, just that simple card that he picked, changed everything. His dad was like, I can't even imagine. I mean, there were a lot of words exchanged, but there was a whole lot of emotion when he embraced his son. Maybe even for the first time, he embraced that boy. And so what I'm saying is, it's not that we don't get things wrong and we don't mess up and we don't, it's about us really realizing that you're not alone. Nobody that's listening to me or hearing me or any of this is undefeated. All of us have stuff. All of us are dealing with stuff, but we still have our village. And that's what I want to impress upon everybody. You still have a village and you can reach out. And maybe sometimes even one of the things that I experienced I had recently is I was going through some old papers in my house, and I came across some letters from my grandmother, and they were little tiny envelopes. I remember, and I could see her handwriting, and I went, "Oh my God, this is Ophelia. This is grandmother Ophelia's writing." I could look at on the front of the envelope, and I knew it was her because I knew her handwriting because she would write us when we were kids. And for birthdays and special things, she would send us a card, and there'd be $5 or $10 in that card. I remember that. And it occurred to me that my grandchildren had no idea what my handwriting was because people don't write letters. They text, they email, but they don't write letters. So I decided, I took it upon myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to write my grandkids. So I went to 5 stationery stores, 5 of them. And they went, well, we have cards, note cards, blank cards. I said, I don't want blank cards. I want lined paper that matches, nice little color, purple or pink and green or blue. And they have the little envelope to match. That's what I was looking for, the little, lined stationery. And you write the note and you put it in the matching little envelope. And they said, no one makes those anymore. I said, no one? They said, no. And I went to 5 stationery stores and they literally didn't make them. So I made them. So the first thing I did was I bought some colored paper and with matching colored envelopes. And I wrote letters to my grandkids. I wrote letters and I wanted them to know what grandmother's handwriting was. It was just something different. And I knew that if, when time passes, that eventually they will cherish those, when they get older, when I'm gone, they'll go, oh, wow, this is the letter that grandmother wrote me. And so I think about those kinds of things, the things that connect us, right? So sometimes wouldn't it be wonderful to send a letter to someone that you love? Because they're going to let you know when they got it. They say, I got your letter. I read it. It was so wonderful. Not just the card, but something that speaks to them about how you feel about them, that you were thinking about them and that you took the time to sit down and to write a letter. I mean, there's so many simple things that we can do that we forget about because we're so busy and we're rushing around. Well, we're not now. We're here now. We can have real conversations. And one of the goals of this, even though, of course, we are mechanically challenged, clearly mechanically challenged with this. That we've got to figure out how to. I mean, just really, how do we get to the point where we feel naturally comfortable in situations that aren't comfortable? And I don't know. This is the new normal. This may be moot. Maybe it'll all be over in a couple of weeks, but maybe not. And in any case, if folks are struggling, if you're struggling, reach out. You're not by yourself. Let's try to solve it as a village. Let's figure out what we can do. Let's listen and embrace and appreciate the people that are in our environment. Let's do some art projects. Let's do some things that we always thought we wanted to do. We never did, right? Too bad you can't play virtual bid whist. That would be nice. I like to play bid whist. But it clearly somebody out there is going to figure out a way to do all that. But I'm just saying that what Dr. Joy is trying to say right now, and a lot of you missed the first part around stress and cortisol and adrenaline and oxytocin. I talked about all that stuff, but it took a while for us to get to the point where I could actually be live. So the other thing that I wanted to say is to take a look at meditating. I know that there's some things you can download in terms of really nature sounds. All of this different kind of stuff. And the other thing that I'm doing and I'm working on, so before I close, I want to kind of talk about, I'm trying to see if anyone had any questions. If anyone has any questions, I think I almost kind of know how to see them and answer them. If anybody has any questions throughout any of this. Okay. Someone asked me to definitely start the podcast. Well, I'm doing it. And I actually am doing it with people who know how to do it. I'm going to do the whole thing with the little mics and everything. And they're going to be unusual because camera permission denied. I don't know what just happened. Okay. What I want to do is I want to have conversations, and I will interview people, and I have a lot of people in my world, a lot of different people that I are doing incredible things, but there's a lot of people that nobody knows that are still doing incredible things whose names you don't know. And those folks I want to kind of highlight. I also want to start engaging with folks in meaningful conversations, meaningful problem solving kind of things where we really do, because here's what I believe. I really believe that if we really opened ourselves up to the village, that there are a lot of people sitting there with answers that no one's ever asked. There are people that are doing that and are doing wonderful things. So I don't know how to get this to go away. I'm asking my husband this because this is his computer. See these little things here? I don't know how to make them go away. That's one. How do you get rid of that one? Oh, this is why we need the village. You see what I'm saying? My husband's he's just a wonderful man. He's not going to want me to talk about him. He's looking at me right now.
Just get a shout out to the brothers for me.
He told me to give a shout out to the brothers. He said, give a shout out to the brothers for him. I love my Latif. He helps me with everything. And the other thing is that life happens, right? So in the midst of all the stuff that's going on, life happens. Folks are dealing with health issues. People are dealing with financial issues. People are dealing with relationship issues. And what I'm saying is I honestly believe that if the World Health Organization were to put problems out there, medical problems, to the world, to anybody, the people in remote villages, I think we'd have answers to every single problem we have. Every single problem we'd have answers to. And I think that there are people we don't hear. There are voices we don't hear. There's knowledge we can't access because we've already decided who knows everything. We've already decided the way. And I think even simply that there are answers to complex problems that are simple, but we don't ask because these people don't have letters behind their names. They don't have significant amounts of money, but they have incredible wisdom. They have incredible knowledge that we could use. So I'm saying we don't have to do anything really different. We just have to start listening to each other. And we have to start inviting people in on those broader conversations. We need to invite folks in. And that's what I want to do with my podcast. I want that podcast to be one where we are having conversations about real stuff that matters to each of us. And and maybe people sharing stories that can be of benefit to other folks. But at this point, again, I think the most vulnerable, and we need to start honoring our elders, the folks who really truly are at the greatest risk during this time, and just hold them closer. Pay attention a little bit more. Do a more intentional things around helping each other. And again, in my family, before all this happened, we were already doing this, already doing it. And so I know that it's something that we need to do and we should do. So I don't want, I don't know how long we went on. We took so long to get on. I want to just make certain, see if I have any questions here. Thank you from Milwaukee. That's wonderful. I'm really glad. There are a lot of people that have, that are just now getting kind of acquainted with my work and are using it. A number of my students, I had a student reach out to me from my online course, and we were doing problem solving. So we do real life stuff. So in my class, the assignment is to identify a problem, to name that problem, and to understand that the people we're trying to help cannot be the people we blame for the problem. It's more than likely a system problem. It's an institutional problem. So we actually have, people are writing their papers and they're doing it based on a problem that they actually introduced a solution to. And I was really happy to hear from one of my students that she was able to implement the change strategy, the problem solving strategy, and the results were really good. So I'm really happy to hear that. And that's one of the things that's going to be part of this podcast too, is to talk about how we can really strategically do some things to change things, not to just talk about how horrible stuff is, but to look at what has been done and what is being done to help people on a lot of different levels. Let me see the other thing. Oh, wonderful. People are talking about some of the things that they're doing in terms of reaching out to family. This is an excellent time to also mend. I think this is a chance to mend some of those broken hearts that we've had through, whether it's people in family. Because I know if I ask everybody to raise their hand, do you know somebody or someone in the family that isn't talking to somebody else in the family for whatever reason? And life's too short. Life's too short. We need to start looking at all the things we can do to be inclusive. And like I said, you never know what people are going through. We tend to be pretty harsh. And, it's like, in particular, as African Americans, we tend to be harsh and hard on each other. And I have a lot of theories about why that's so. But I think there's a real wonderful, fragile, and loving and amazing people underneath all of those exteriors that sometimes seem very harsh or curt. Sometimes my students ask me because some of what we have to do is interview, like, for example, if you're doing something with your family, you might have to interview your family about some things. And one of the students brought up the fact that she goes, I can't get anybody in the family to talk about anything. They just won't talk. My grandmother, my aunts, they won't talk. And I said, okay, because, we all know that you can't air your dirty laundry, right? We're supposed to keep everything, we keep these secrets. And so I have a couple of methods that I've used to get our elders, our elders, just to talk, because you got to remember a lot of stuff in their lives. Those people who held the stories and held the secrets, they were painful, and there's a lot of shame. And some of us have been shut down because of shame. But I've learned some ways to work with people around that. And one of the best ways I found, especially, may just be my family. Let me just tell you, we got our own layer of strangeness in my family. But if you wanted to get older people to talk, the best way to get older people to talk in my family is to go, yeah, well, we're doing this thing, we're doing this assignment, and I'm doing, or I'm in this workshop, and people are asking, elders about, their lives and but I know you wouldn't, you probably don't remember and don't know. Yeah, I know. What do you mean? What you talking about? Of course I know. I'll tell you something, right? That's my family. It has been very, very, very effective, because all you have to do is tell them they don't know, and then they're gonna tell you everything they know. And just, I mean, just little things. And I think that it's this is also a great time to connect children with their elders, and to connect families. I see that as a really an exciting thing. So here's the thing that I wanted to share. Now, this isn't going to work for everybody, but everyone who's taken my course, and I think we're into the third course, fall, winter, spring, summer. We might even actually have a year's worth. So what we're going to be doing, and we're getting ready, going to put it up on my site, is I'm going to do an invite so that anyone who's taken my class online can invite a group of people to their home, and whoever they want in their family or wherever to be a part can participate. Or if they're not in the same space, they can do the same thing. They can just kind of key in the way we are now to have a discussion about a particular topic. Because, and I realize that we can't be everywhere, but this is one way I could be a lot of places at once. And a lot of people who maybe would not be able to access some of the work that I've done, or some of the things that I've learned any other way. So we're going to do it. It is going to be, I probably it'll be a 2 hours is what I'm thinking. It'll be 2 hours, which will give us a chance to work out any bugs, which there shouldn't be. But we're going to do that for my online class. That's separate from my podcast, which I'm working on and developing, putting all the equipment together for. But we're going to do that. We're going to do a group class. And what I'd like to do probably before is to get some questions or some topics that my students would like me to speak about during that session, that they get to invite people to be a part of that. So we'll kind of have a huge group of people that are going to be listening in that otherwise wouldn't, that have been part of my class. So that's something I'm going to be doing probably in the next couple of weeks. My Bahia, who has been, and I just have to say that she tried so hard. We really did. We even started early trying to figure this out. But trust me, the bugs will be out next time. So with that, don't know where the thing went. You've been blocked. I'm getting all of these weird error messages. What can I say? Next time it'll be better. But we're going to do another Facebook Live. But we're going to do it right. And we're going to identify specific topics that we're going to cover. This time I was looking at stress and cortisol. And while we're sheltered in place, being sheltered in place and having social distance doesn't mean that we disconnect. It does not mean that. In fact, I think it speaks to the fact that we need to connect. Really happy about, I know that Michelle Obama was on, and that was part of the reason why we kind of got a little thrown off, because we wanted people to be able to participate in her and NICE. I think I probably said that wrong, but I was really happy to hear that people were leaning in and listening. So appreciative that in our own lanes, everybody's in a different lane, that we're doing what we can do. This is what I do. This is my lane. Any of the topics that I cover, anything that's I've written in my book, or I've dealt with in terms of community, I'd like to bring it here. I like to bring the conversation here. I'm just so happy to know that folks are really leaning in, and hopefully I would also want to encourage any of you that know that there are folks that are struggling, or know that there are people that are homeless, that you can do anything I'm really encouraging you to do that. My heart goes out to folks that don't have those resources. And you know, the homeless are already isolated, they're already alienated. And so this particular problem could be devastating for that community. And for that reason, I just feel like each of us should do what we can, do what we can in our own worlds. And sometimes those people are in our families. Sometimes those people are our friends or their neighbors. Um, and I think this is what um, having a village is all about. So with that, my face went away again. I don't know where it went, but I'm going to say goodbye. But I'm going to do it again, and we're going to do it right next time. And I'm not mad at my daughter. She did the best she could. We were trying to figure it out, but that's okay because we're human and we make mistakes and we'll bounce back. So until I see you again, um, be the healing. Thank you. Bye bye.